If you have already watched this introductory information, you can skip ahead no more than 9 minutes. Hello, welcome. I am predicting that famous singer-songwriter Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel will die on August 8th, 2025. I'm also predicting that his funeral will be on August 12th, 2025. It is also possible that instead of him dying on August 8th, there will be a relevant, clear prophetic sign that will occur on August 8th that will reveal that Paul Simon will die on August 12th, and therefore August 12th will not be the date of his funeral. This time-stamped email proves that this prediction that Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025 has been known since November 9th. We can see here the timestamp November 9th, 2024. On November 8th, 2024, we received the relevant prophetic signs related to Paul Simon. And as I wrote right here, God was pointing to November 8th ahead of time because Simon's death will point to Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. And this is the reason why Paul Simon will die on August 1st, 2025. In short, the date 8:1 and 11:8 hint at Revelation 8:1 in the Bible, which describes a period of silence that was observed in heaven. Paul Simon's first hit was Sound of Silence. As I wrote right here, it is exactly 38 weeks between November 8th and August 1st, 2025, and Paul Simon is predicted to die at the age of 83, for which 38 weeks hints at. All right, the analysis that God was pointing to August 1st was 100% correct. However, Paul Simon did not die on August 1st. Instead, God provided clear and relevant signs related to Paul Simon, which revealed adding 7 more days to reach August 8th. The sign we received was the news report, the breaking of the news of the sale of the storied mansion in Los Angeles that was built for the most prolific TV producer in history, and God uses extremes and records for his signs. Aaron Spelling, who produced the longest-running drama series in history, Seventh Heaven. That's how we get the addition of 7 days to reach August 8th. And Simon is associated with mansions, or I should say in God's signs, mansion theme and symbolism is related to Paul Simon because his biggest solo album was the Graceland album, and the song Graceland is about Elvis Presley's mansion. There's lots to that for why God is using this theme, but this is immediately recognized. I've been following Paul Simon's signs for years now, and I've known about this theme of mansion symbolism for over 3 years. And so that's why it was immediately recognized that this sign involving the sale of this mansion, and one of the big signs is the sale of Paul Simon's mansion. It's not only a mansion sign on August 1st that we received, but the story was the sale of the mansion. And that's again because one of the signs is the sale of Paul Simon's mansion back on July 1st, 2022. And that the details of that prophetic sign are explained elsewhere. Now, another thing about the 7 days connection is Paul Simon at this time on August 1st he still is, but he won't be by the date of August 8th, touring for his new album, 7 Psalms. The cover art for the album is from Thomas Moran's Two Owls, and it depicts owls. And on this same August 1st date, another prophetic sign was a mass shooting in the 41st state. Paul Simon was born in Paul Simon was born in 41, and the reason for that, the significance of that, is that the word he is equal to 41 in simple English gematria. A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. And it is a key that opens the bottomless pit in one of the 7 trumpet judgments in the book of Revelation that follows the period of silence that was observed as in the sound of silence in the beginning of Revelation chapter 8, Revelation 8:1. And Paul Simon is known for being a music composer, and music compositions use music keys. And also, so that's why the key, the 41st state, clearly hints at Paul Simon. In general, God uses the mass shootings for symbolism for the mark of the Antichrist, which is also mentioned in that same trumpet judgment, is alluded to anyway, in that same trumpet judgment in which the key opens the door to the bottomless pit to the demons that will cross over into the earthly realm and demonically possess people who have taken the mark of the Antichrist, which is the thing that comes out, which is symbolized by the things that come out of guns and go into people. That's why mass shootings are prophetic signs. So we have a mass shooting in the 41st state, and it was in the bar named the Owl Bar. The name of the bar in which the 4 deaths occurred, and God is associated the number 4 with Paul Simon and his signs in general, and that's explained elsewhere. But it was 4 deaths, and that's because the door that opens to the bottomless pit is symbolized by the number 4, because the 4th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the symbol for a door, and it's the key that opens the door to the bottomless pit. And so that's why the number 4. And so it was 4 deaths in the Owl Bar in the 41st state. Paul Simon's born in 41, and hints at key. And he was born on the 13th day of the month, and the 41 is the 13th prime number. And so that's why we also have the number 4 there. And when we add 7 plus 4 days, we get a total of 11 days. And we add that 7 plus 4 days to August 1st, gets us to August 12th. And also August 12th is 11 days after August 1st. And on August 1st, the story was the sale of the mansion, which sold for $110 million, which hints at 11. In other words, what I am saying is that God is also pointing to August 12th. And I believe at this time that it is the date for the funeral. But if this isn't correct, it is because Paul Simon will die on August 12th. And instead, on August 8th, we will receive more clear, relevant prophetic signs that will probably involve the number 4 and indicate adding 4 more days to reach the date on which it is predicted that Paul Simon will die on August 12th. But as of right now, anyway, I believe that Paul Simon will die on August 8th. 7 days after the 7th heaven sign the sale of the mansion of the producer of 7th Heaven. And also, by the way, Paul Simon's Graceland album released the song The Boy in the Bubble, and that song was inspired by one of Aaron Spelling's TV movies, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Another connection between Aaron Spelling, the mansion sale, and Paul Simon. And also, The Boy in the Bubble song is from the Graceland Mansion album, and that album is Paul Simon's best-selling album, solo album, and it is the 7th album of Paul Simon. Now, the reason for going into this right here at the beginning of this little introduction, the main point here, is that I predicted Paul Simon's death on August 8th, back in November of 2024. For those that are reasonable, for those with eyes to see, this will be clearly recognized. Again, I predicted back on November 9th, 2024, that Paul Simon would die on August 1st. Then we received the clear and relevant signs that indicated adding 7 days to reach August 8th. And so when Paul Simon dies on August 8th, as is predicted, it will therefore mean that I predicted his death on August 8th, if you will, back in November of 2024. The reasonable person will recognize that this is true. A dirty bomb is a conventional explosive that uses radioactive material. I am predicting that 3 dirty bombs will explode in New York City, in Times Square, Penn Station, and Grand Central Station. There will then be a massive evacuation from Manhattan Island. I am predicting that these 3 dirty bombs will explode on either August 30th or September 4th. I am also predicting that a dirty bomb will explode in the port of Los Angeles on September 4th. I am predicting that Tehran, Iran, will be nuked by the US or possibly Israel on September 7th, 2025. This will obviously be in response to the dirty bombs that are predicted to explode in New York City. I am predicting that Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom will die in a plane crash in St. Louis as they are traveling from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles in Busch Stadium in St. Louis on August 2nd, 2028. This will be during the predicted presidential campaign of Gavin Newsom. As a result of Gavin Newsom's death, Michelle Obama will become the Democrat Party's presidential nomination. Michelle Obama will, quote unquote, win the election over J.D. Vance on November 7th, 2028, and will become the president on January 20th, 2029. Donald Trump is predicted to run as J.D. Vance's vice president. This scheme to overcome the 22nd Amendment will backfire and inspire Michelle Obama and Barack Obama to run on the ticket with Barack Obama as Michelle Obama's vice president. She will then step down and Barack Obama will become the president again. It is predicted that there will be a massive Mary apparition on the beach in Rio, Brazil on April 24th, 2029. It is now recognized that there will be 2 massive Mary apparitions on the beach in Rio. The first of the 2 is predicted to be on March 22nd, 2029. These predicted Mary apparitions will not be secretive. They will be mainstream, worldwide news. Like all Mary apparitions in history, including at Lourdes, Guadalupe, and Fatima, this Mary apparition will be a demon pretending to be Mary. It is predicted that on April 26th, 2029, the key will open the bottomless pit and fallen angels will cross over into the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the 5th trumpet judgment that is described in Revelation chapter 9, when the demonic realm collides with the earthly realm. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to demons pretending to be aliens. The demons pretending to be aliens will claim to be here to help us with our nuclear weapons. It is predicted that Pope Francis will be resurrected from the grave on April 26th, 2029, and it is possible that on this day, Pope Francis will announce that aliens have arrived and have made him the ambassador for the world. This will immediately give Pope Francis, the Antichrist, supreme power over governments of the world. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to a zombie pandemic and the masses becoming demonically possessed that will be facilitated through the thing, which is the mark of the Antichrist and 5G frequencies. April 26th, 2029 will be a symbolic beginning to the coming genocide politicide in America. The resurrection rapture event will occur on Pentecost on May 27th, 2029. On September 11th, 2029, there will be a catastrophic asteroid hit of Earth in the Indian Ocean. The greatest seismic effect of this will be felt on the other side of the globe, which is North America, and this will trigger an eruption of Yellowstone volcano and will cause the volcano in the Canary Islands to collapse into the Atlantic Ocean and send a mega tsunami towards the East Coast. It will also trigger the collapse of the Hoover Dam, which will cause a water panic in California, and many other devastating earthquakes. The day of the Lord, the second coming of Lord Jesus Christ, Judgment Day, will be at the end of 2031. The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. All right, welcome. This video is predicting that famous singer-songwriter Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel is predicted to die on August 8th, 2025. As we can see here, this email was composed today, and the timestamp of this email is August 5th. So this prediction this email is confirming that this prediction is being made before August 8th. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I'll forward this to you. But also, the timestamp of the video, the post date, I should say, of the video you were watching on the social media platform you were watching it on also proves that this prediction is being made ahead of time. Now, that said, the prediction, or rather I should say first, the knowledge that Paul Simon's death will be a massive prophetic sign has been known for years now through God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is only being explained on this channel. It has been known that God has been pointing to, through his big picture of signs, Paul Simon for years. But it has also been known since November 9th, 2024, that Paul Simon would die this August. It was believed that God was pointing, well, it wasn't believed, God in fact was pointing to August 1st, 2025. And prior to August 1st, it was believed that Paul Simon would die on this date because God was pointing to August 1st, the date 8:1, which hints at Revelation 8:1, which is the verse in the Bible that describes the period of silence that was observed in heaven before the trumpet judgments and the 7 trumpet judgments. And Paul Simon, his first biggest hit that launched his career was Sound of Silence. His most recent album is 7 Psalms, and one of his big hits is Late in the Evening, which the name in itself is hinting at time is running out for judgment and destruction. This song is known for its heavy use of trumpets, and so the 7 trumpets that follows the period of silence in heaven in Revelation chapter 8. The prophetic sign we received on August 1st, which was the sale of the storied mansion of the most prolific TV producer in history, Aaron Spelling, who produced the longest-running drama series in history, Seventh Heaven. The sale of his mansion was announced. Paul Simon is associated with mansion symbolism because of, for one thing, the Graceland album, his best-selling solo album, in which the song Graceland is about the Elvis Presley mansion. And Paul Simon's song on that album, The Boy in the Bubble, was inspired by Aaron Spelling's TV movie, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. Anyway, the 7th heaven was hinted at with the sale of this mansion, which revealed adding 7 days to get the date 8/8, the date on which it is predicted that Paul Simon will die. And again, his death will point to Revelation chapter 8. And so, the, again, knowledge that Paul Simon would die, in other words, it has been known since November of 2024 that Paul Simon would die on August 8th. Yes, it was first believed August 1st, but I just explained clearly how the analysis for August 1st was 100% correct and revealed adding 7 days, which is why we get August 8th. One reason, and I'll explain more profound reasons in a minute, but that's one reason, the 7 days from August 1st. And so in other words, again, for those who have the eyes to see, those who are reasonable will understand that I predicted back in November of 2024 that Paul Simon would die on August 8th. That's how it works, right? Now, for the skeptic that will say and conclude, because they are absolutely certain that there either is no God or there is no evidence for God and no one can possibly know, which is the core dogmatic belief of the agnostic atheist religion, which is that there is no evidence for God, even though that's a lie, and there's an overwhelming amount of evidence in all kinds of forms, including scientific evidence. But regardless, that person that essentially does not want there to be a God, that they're accountable to for their sin, at least they don't want to know about it until they die, which is the exact opposite of the purpose of life, is to have the opportunity to choose whether or not they want to be with this God forever. But anyway, that person will probably tell themselves that I must have made that I must have made a video for every day of the week, or every day of the year, I should say, or every day of the month, or whatever, leading up to, I don't know what they're going to say. They're going to say something like, I must have made a video for every day. They're not going to think clearly, because obviously this conclusion isn't thought through clearly. So they're going to say, I must have made a video for every day in the hopes that I would eventually get it right and the date that Paul Simon would die. But that's absolutely absurd and crazy, literally. Only a crazy person would do such a thing, because Paul Simon, for one thing, could live another 7 years or more. But another thing, it is the crazy person that would think that someone would do such a thing, because only a crazy person would do such a thing. And if you think that I sound like a crazy person, well, you are the crazy person for thinking that someone would, like myself or anyone, would do such a thing. But that said, obviously that's ridiculous, but that said, the reasons for how August 8th are known, which I'll explain in this video, some of the reasons, are truly profound and could not have possibly come from the imagination of a human being. As you will see, these reasons could have only come from God. No one is creative enough to come up with these and concoct these reasons for August 8th. You'll see, and I'll explain now. Let's begin. This email is documenting the prediction that singer-songwriter Paul Simon will die on August 8th, 2025, and it is predicted that his funeral will be on August 12th. Okay, so God is pointing to August 12th also. If this is wrong, it's that August 8th will be another step, just like August 1st was, and Paul Simon will die on August 12th. But at this moment, I'm leaning towards the idea that the reason why God is pointing to August 12th also regarding Paul Simon is that it is the date of his funeral. We'll see. But like I said, I'll say it one more time. If Paul Simon doesn't die on August 8th, there will be clear and relevant signs that will occur on August 8th that will reveal adding 4 days to get August 12th. Just like I mentioned, the signs on August 1st revealed adding 7 days to get August 8th. They also, by the way, I won't explain it here, the signs on August 1st also revealed adding 11 days. Well, the mansion sold for $110 million, which hints at 11. It's that simple, actually. Well, anyway, let's move on, because that's explained in another video anyway. So, Paul Simon is predicted to die on the date 8/8. The agent who first signed Simon and Garfunkel, Wally Amos of Famous Amos Cookies, died at the age of 88. And one thing that I just remembered, well, first of all, he signed Simon and Garfunkel through luring them into his office with cookies. And then he went on to found Famous Amos Cookies afterwards, which is interesting and also, of course, prophetic and from God. God, in other words, designed it that this Wally Amos guy would found Famous Amos Cookies in order to point to how he signed Simon and Garfunkel through the use of cookies. That was his strategy for signing people, and it worked. And what I just realized, though, is that this connection from the date of his death, which was August 13th, 2024, I just remembered, it's 360 days. And how many degrees are there in a circle? 360. What is a cookie? Well, at least Famous Amos's cookies, they're circles. In fact, come to think of it, the Famous Amos cookies, because I used to eat them, are exact circles. I mean, they're like known for being like really circular. They're like perfect circles. That's kind of like, in a way, a little bit of its trademark. It's like these chunks that are thick but small and circular. Not that, most chocolate chip cookies aren't circular, they are, but just the fact that Wally Amos's cookies are, and of course they're really circular because it's like emphasized with the fact that they're small and thick for their size. Anyway, the point is that I think the 360-day connection here points to the cookies. But regardless, we have a death at the age of 88, and this death is of the person who signed Paul Simon, who is predicted to die on the date 8/8. Believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. In the last days, many people who claim to be a follower of Christ will have spiritual experiences that are in reality demonic. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Do not listen to or follow the example of most quote-unquote Christians. Instead, follow the teachings of Jesus, which most quote-unquote Christians ignore. Like Jesus, you must surrender your life. Put nothing ahead of Jesus, your Lord. Like Jesus, you must lay down your life so that you may live. As Jesus said, one must die first, like a kernel of wheat going into the ground, in order to then grow and produce fruit. And like Jesus said, one must produce fruit, or else like a branch or a tree not producing fruit, they will be thrown into the fire. Jesus was speaking to quote-unquote Christians when he said this. One must die the self in order to be born again. And like Jesus said, one must be born again to enter the kingdom. Like Jesus, you must sacrifice your life for the sake of the coming kingdom. It means to do work that involves some form of sacrifice and risk. To have faith does not mean to intellectually agree. You need to demonstrate your faith through taking action. To have faith means to trust in God's promises. Taking action demonstrates trust and fear of the Lord. The primary reason that the wrath of God is coming upon America is quote-unquote Christians that do not get what I have just explained. The only reason a Christian is alive is in order to help other people become Christians and make it to the kingdom. Do not be deceived by those on the political left claiming to be quote-unquote Christians. There is no such thing as a Christian on today's political progressive left. Jesus said, "Do not think I have come to abolish or change any bit of the law or the prophets of the Old Testament Bible." In other words, the God of the Old Testament Bible is the exact same God of the New Testament Bible. It is essential that you learn about the God of the Bible and his ways. The God of the Old Testament Bible is looking to see who will fear him, and to fear God is not the same thing as quote-unquote revering or honoring God. Through Christ's ransom payment, a Christian is someone who has been redeemed and freed from slavery to sin and Satan. In response, a true Christian recognizes that their life in this world does not belong to them, and they become a willing slave to Jesus for the sake of the kingdom. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. And don't only put the link to this video or another video on this channel in comments sections of places you typically visit, but importantly, put the link to the video in places you never visit, where people who don't think like you visit. If you are a quote-unquote Christian, nothing in terms of an evangelism tool compares to this video with its prediction. It is a massive bag of gold. Beware of Jesus' warning through the quote-unquote Christian that did nothing with his bag of gold and was banished to hell. Also, read Ezekiel chapter 3 and 33 for this same warning. If you think you might be spending too much time watching videos instead of working and sacrificing for the kingdom through handing out flyers and potentially helping hundreds of people in the same length of time as a video, my flyer is filled with amazing information that people need to know right now, and it points people to the video channel. Now is not the time to be handing out typical evangelical tracts that are largely based in error anyway, such as, quote, Jesus loves you, unquote, for example. You can hand out the flyer on busy street corners, put them on car windshields in busy parking lots, and put them in mailboxes. Just send the file to your local print shop. You can download the file from the website. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, asteroidprediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the Odyssey.com or Rumble.com channel, and do it now in case you aren't able to later.